You might have seen me drive some fancy cars on the show, or at times not so fancy cars, or even seen me ride a bike. But what I drive today is something which is not really easy to come by. This 10 feet monster here looks intimidating even for a drive, doesn't it? But I tell you something, there are some people with loose nuts and bolts up here who actually go racing with this. This is the truck from last year's Prima truck racing, which Tata Motors had introduced in India. Tata Motors is the first commercial vehicle manufacturer to bring in the exciting sport of truck racing into India, when they had 6 teams racing their Prima range of trucks at the Buddh circuit last year. And much to the amazement of over 20,000 people who have turned out to watch the race, it was an affair to remember, with some close racing and these monstrous machines doing speeds of well over 100 kilometers an hour. Truck racing is a popular form of motorsports in many European countries, and it seems India too will see the sport growing, with Tata planning to continue it this year. This is a chassis which is designed to be hitched to a trailer and hauls some 40 tons of cargo. But this one, of course, had a different destiny written for it. It was meant to go track racing. Consequently, you see some modifications to the chassis. You see reinforcements in the back, reinforcements to the side, and of course 2 90-liter water tanks. And what this does is very simple. It sprays water on the disc to keep the temperature down during cornering and extensive use of braking. Plus, you have the fuel tank, which is mounted up on the chassis instead of below it, and you have semi-slicks mounted on the wheels to make sure that this one does go racing. Most forms of motorsports requires extreme levels of fitness, but in the case of car racing, sometimes you might not find out whether you're fit or not before you get into the driver's seat. It's only while you're driving you might realize you have not been in the best of shape. But in this case, not so. Even to get into the driver's seat, it seems like you have to pass through a fitness test to climb up all the way. And this is no easy feat, let me tell you that. And once you peep inside, you realize that this truck is no different from any other race car. Bare bone structure with all the mandatory safety equipment like a roll cage, which looks very solid to me, a racing seat, a 5-point seat belt here, and of course a fire extinguisher and a circuit breaker. Looks like a nice place to spend some time in. This truck, other than these modifications which are mandatory for racing, remains the same as a regular 4-ton Prima range truck, which Tata sells in India as well as exported to the Middle East and SAARC countries. All the modifications and changes to make it track ready have been done in-house by Tata and the commercial vehicles manufacturing arm Telco, while the tyres have been supplied by JK Tyres, and this race-prepared truck complies with the regulation of the British Truck Racing Championship. Not easy, I told you. But now it's time to go driving. I had a long-standing desire to drive something which pumped out more than 1,000 Newton meters of torque. And today I have not only got that, I have got a whole lot more than that. This truck pumps out 1,500 Newton meters of torque, and this comes very low down at around 1,300 to 1,500 RPM. Remember, this was designed to haul cargo, not to race. So the power is delivered way down the rev band. This is a 8.9-liter inline 6-cylinder turbo diesel engine which pumps out 340 brake horsepower, and it is mated to a 9-speed gearbox. Well, the gearing is not as you would expect in a sedan or a luxury sedan. This is certainly not smooth, does need a little bit of working out to slot it in properly. But then, with a little bit of practice and my kind of a talent, you just might get it. This has got a free flow exhaust, and every time you flip the throttle, so what you hear is a pure exhaust noise. You have the nettings here but no windows, so all the sound comes straight inside the cabin. This is very raw, but this feels really good. If you like driving your vehicle straight off the production line, then I'm sure this is something that will delight you. The gearing is very close, so you have to keep on shifting it from the first to the second to the third, and you have to be really quick with it till the time you don't get on to the top gear. And once you're in the top gear, the juices start flowing and you hit the top speed of something like 130 kilometers to an hour. Not bad. I think racing trucks is really one of the toughest forms of motorsports. You not only have to have a lot of car control, but it's very physical. A lot of noise, vibration, wind, everything comes in, and there is no refinement. With only the chassis, this truck weighs some 400 kilos less than a regular truck. And because of the light rear end, it has become bouncy, and also the tail has a tendency to step out if you corner hard. So steering input is critical to cut down on the oversteer around a fast corner. But once you master the art, it actually becomes good fun to fling it around the corners. And for stopping, it uses an all-around booster assisted discs, which actually do a great job of bringing this to a stop. But then the discs on constant and high-speed braking heat up fast, so the improvised technology of having two tanks with water come in handy, as they sprinkle the water on the disc and prevent brake fade during racing. I just love this. It needs correction every time you enter a corner. It has to be corrected because the light chassis tends to tail wag. Truck racing is new to India, but last year we saw the first races at the Buddha International Circuit, courtesy Tata Motors, and this year too Tata Motors is planning some races. Truck racing is of course one of the toughest forms of motorsports, requires a lot of skill, physical toughness, and of course talent. And if you think you have it in you, then give it a shot, because if you do happen to master it, it's a lot of fun.